Stop trying to control everything and just let go. I know this sounds simple, maybe even frustrating to hear, because you've been told your whole life that the harder you hold on to your goals, relationships, the outcomes you want, the more likely you are to get them. And I'm not here to tell you to give up. You know, there's a difference between letting go and giving up. And once you understand the nuances, the differences, the way you move through the world changes completely. Most of your suffering doesn't come from what's actually happening in your life. It comes from the gap between what's happening and what you think should be happening. Think about the last time you were genuinely miserable. At the core of it, it was an attachment of something going a specific way. And it didn't. The suffering was not the situation, but rather it was your refusal to accept it. We spend so much energy trying to control outcomes, replaying conversations, obsessing over what we should have said, laying awake in bed at 3 a.m., running through every scenario, as if worrying is doing anything except making us more miserable. You cannot control your outcomes, and you never could. And the sooner you realize that and accept that, you become finally free. Tyler Durden said it best: the things you own end up owning you. Most people think that's about material possessions, but it goes much deeper than that. The moment you decide you cannot be happy without something, that thing owns you completely. The guy who's obsessed with getting the girl, she owns him. The person who can't function without the job, that job owns them. The person who's tied their entire self-worth to a number, a salary, a follower count, those things own them completely. And here's what happens when something owns you. You start making decisions from desperation, fear, need, and nothing repels what you want faster than desperation. And I know you've felt this before. You know what it feels like to want something so badly that you start pushing it further away. And that's not just by a coincidence. That's the natural consequence of attachment. Detachment is not apathy. It's not pretending you don't care. The law of detachment says this: you can want something deeply, but your peace, identity, and sense of self cannot depend on whether you get it. There's a concept from the Bhagavad Gita that captures this perfectly. It says, you are responsible for your actions, but you are not responsible for the result of your actions. You control the input, but you do not control the output. So put in the best effort you've ever given, show up as the best version of yourself, and then let go. Because whether the outcome comes or not is now out of your hands. The only answer to this is maximum effort and minimum attachment to the outcome. Now, this is a concept that you guys might struggle to accept or fathom. But suffering is a choice, not pain. Pain is real, loss is real, but suffering, the prolonged, consuming experience of misery, is what happens when you take a painful event and decide it should not have happened in the first place. That relationship ended. That's painful. But the suffering is the months you spend replaying every conversation, refusing to accept that it's finally over. That business failed. That's painful. But the suffering is letting that one outcome define every decision you make afterward. Buddhist philosophy put it simply: attachment is the source of suffering, not the events themselves. but the attachment to how we think things should go. Every single thing you've ever held on to with desperation has either broken down or slipped away. Now really think about that. The tighter you grip something, the more it resists you. And then something you barely thought about, maybe you didn't even want in the first place. You said, screw it. It just shows up in your life magically. The job you applied for on a whim, not caring if you got accepted. That relationship that starts when you weren't looking for anyone at all. That's not just luck. That's literally the law of detachment working exactly as it's supposed to. So how do you actually let go and detach yourself from everything? So first, you got to separate effort from outcome. There's this quote by Jim Rohn where he says, learn to give everything you got in everything you do. So what does that mean? Show up fully. Work as hard as you can, and then release your grip on what happens next. Do not give any importance to the outcome, the end result. You win, you lose. You get the girlfriend or boyfriend or not. You do your part. You don't get to control both parts. Next, stop making your happiness conditional. This is a great line that I saw from Matthew McConaughey where he says, happiness is dependent on events and outcomes, but joy is always there. Joy is existing in the process, whereas happiness is more of a fleeting emotion. I'll be happy when I get the job. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll feel good when I lose the weight and I get the six-pack abs. So that's handing the keys to your emotional state to something outside of yourself. And the peace has to come first. The outcomes will follow. The Stoics talk about this. They say, control your emotions. And a lot of people misinterpret this, thinking that you have to be nonchalant or emotionless. But the idea is that you can make $1 million or you could lose $1 million. But you should still feel the same way in both those scenarios. You should feel just the same amount of determination and joy and gratitude. Third, get comfortable with uncertainty, or how I like to call it, or how I like to word it, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Seek discomfort. That's a life motto or mentality that I live by every day. Nothing is guaranteed. The moment you make peace with that, everything around you changes. You stop wasting energy trying to control what you can't control and start putting it into the only things you actually can. This moment, the present moment, and your next decision. You see, one part of the law of detachment that you have to understand is that the present moment is the only thing that you have. Not the past, not the future, the present. And this goes for everything, and especially in today's age with social media, our attention spans are cooked. But next time you're sitting down or eating your food, notice, are you really just eating your food, or are you scrolling? When you're talking to someone, are you also on your phone scrolling or looking around at other people? Learn to live in the present moment. That will do wonders for you. Lastly, catch yourself when you feel as if you're holding on to something too desperately, as if you have a tight grip on the outcome. And you know when this is happening, that thoughts are racing in your mind, you're obsessing. Oh, will they text me back? Will I get promoted to senior manager? Will I close that business deal? Coming back to that same situation over and over. And when you're in this state of fight or flight, you know, that's your sign you have to release. You have to let go. It goes back to the evolutionary standpoint. We were in fight or flight when we felt in danger. So essentially, your mind is in a state of lack, not in abundance. That I don't have what I need right now. And when you're in a state of need, desperation, then you're saying that you're not happy, you're not in a state of peace with your life, and therefore you're not able to take anything more. Because how can you accept more if you're not grateful for what you already have? So here's the underlying truth about this that most people never realize, understand, till late in their life, or not even at all. The reality of life is that things don't work out the way you planned it, almost always redirect you to somewhere better. And when one door closes, the other one opens. The universe has really crazy ways of working. And everyone you see or interact with, every opportunity you get, it all happens for a reason. Every single thing. Even you watching this video showing up on your For You page is for a reason. And I don't believe in coincidences. This is another law I'll get into another video, but the law of cause and effect. Everything has a cause, and there's also a byproduct or effect of it. The failure that felt like the end was the beginning of something you couldn't have built any other way. Your business goes bankrupt, and maybe it was making $1 million a year, and you have to be in an apartment, and in that apartment complex, your next door neighbor eventually turns out to be your future wife. People and opportunities will come to you, but only if you're willing to let go in the moment of everything. Material possessions, people, what they think of you, outcomes, status, money, power, literally everything. And the moment you let go is when everything starts going your way. Things start to align. Your energy or frequency that you vibrate at aligns with the universe, and you start getting a lot of blessings, man. And it's crazy because you think, oh, it's all just luck. But no. There's greater forces at play. So do the work. Learn to give everything you've got into everything you do. Detach yourself from the results and the outcomes. The life you've been trying to control so desperately has been trying to take you somewhere better. All the signs are there. The universe is trying to send you a message through everything, all these stress and the worries. A lot of people say, oh, I just had a gut feeling, or oh, I just thought about it. That if there's one thing you take away from this video is that one to detach, but two, always trust that gut feeling. Because that gut feeling usually knows something isn't right, or it's giving you the instinct to go in a direction which you, your mind, and the stars aligned, the universe knows is best for you. So with that, let go of every single thing, and you will start to live life on easy mode. I guarantee you. Everything is gonna work out for you once you detach.